Welcome to another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dr. Dave Peltz, and joining us, as always, is our second co-host, or actually our other co-host, Dr. Joe Hamlett. How are you doing today, Dr. Joe?
I'm doing good. How are you doing with that extended introduction?
Most excellent, apparently.
All right, man. Well, that's cool. Cool.
Yeah, so we'd like to welcome our viewers and listeners back to another episode. This is our second season, and we're very excited about that. And in tradition of our second season, we're going to bring up our topic and then start discussing it, because that's what we do. So this week's topic is embracing your uniqueness. And that's kind of a broad topic. It's like, wow, that's a lot to unpack, unravel, peel, whatever metaphor you want to use towards digging into this topic. So when we think about embracing our uniqueness or embracing your uniqueness, what comes to mind to you, Dr. Joe, when I say embracing your uniqueness?
Over the years, I've learned the importance of who we are, that unique person. Back when I was younger, especially in my teenage years, young adult years, I really focused on trying to be like everybody else. I wanted to be like the cool kids. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be accepted, all those things. And so it really made me seek to be somebody that I wasn't. I can even think all the way back to when I was like in the second or third grade, when my family, my parents learned that I needed glasses really badly. And I did. I could barely see in front of me. And so they went through this, and back then you didn't have cool glasses like we have now,
right.
So I just basically got whatever their insurance could afford. And so they probably didn't look the best in my eyes. So,
I think they came with the sign that attached to your forehead that says, "Don't look at me, I'm weird," or something like that.
All right. So that almost what it, almost what it felt like, it seemed like, because as soon as you put on those glasses, you were 4 eyes, you were this, you were that. And, after just a couple of days of that, as a kid, I made the decision to toss my glasses on the way home from work, from school one day. I did.
Wow.
I literally took them out or took them off and threw them in a field. And then when I got home, my parents said, "Hey, where are your glasses?" I said, "I lost them. I don't know where I left them." And again, being in a situation with my family or my parents, they couldn't afford to buy me new glasses. So I went, that was probably second or third grade, all the way until like my sophomore year in high school, before I got at that time, that's when contact lenses first came out or became very popular. And so I think my sophomore or junior year, they got me some contact lenses. And up until that point, I could not see the board. I couldn't see too far in front of me. So in most cases, I had to sit up in the front row just so I could even squint to see the board. So, and I think back to how badly I wanted to be like everybody else and not embrace who I was, that I was willing to sacrifice, learning and being better, because I didn't want to look like a nerd or like a dork or whatever the names back then they called us. And so that's why I know I lost a lot by making that decision to, and again, being a kid, you don't know, but me choosing to do that as a youngster, continue into early adulthood, still trying to be cool, still trying to hang out, still trying to, assimilate. And like I said, it's not until, recent years that I learned the importance of embracing my uniqueness. So now when people ask me, like now, I wear glasses. I haven't worn contact lenses in a lot of years, just because I embrace who I am now. I am a nerd. I am a dork. I mean, I like things that people don't like. I like doing things people don't like. I dress the way I want. I was just, me and you were talking about this earlier. I'm a doctor, but most cases people won't know that just by looking at me, or
Right.
the vehicle I drive, or the way I act, the music I listen to, because I don't subscribe to whatever everybody else thinks is cool, or whatever everybody else is doing. I'm being me, who I am, who I was intended to be. And that's what I think about now when I think of embracing your uniqueness. All the things that make, you know, are that make me up and make me who I am, my experiences, my education, my family, all those things now tie into my uniqueness. Me and Dave
Yeah.
often joke about, we're twins, but we're not. We all
Wait,
are
what?
unique. I'm sorry to break that to you,
Oh
Dave,
my
but
God, my world
I
is
know.
collapsing.
But that's really what this is all about, is embracing who you really are. I mean, everything about you. I'm still a shy person. That's what I was as a kid. I'm a shy person. I typically stay by myself. But when it's something I'm passionate about, you can't shut me up. And that's kind of what we do
Right.
here with this. And I know you've been trying to jump in there,
I've been trying. I've been trying. I can't
but
hit the pause button fast enough.
but that's how powerful I believe
Yeah.
this is, to embrace your uniqueness, who you are, all those things that make you you. It is important for you to embrace that and be who you are, and to let other people know that nobody should shun you, or disregard you because of how you look, how you sound, the way you are. And
I,
it took me a lot of years to embrace that, but now I do. So I'm
yeah.
not gonna stop.
I like what you said a few minutes ago about you're embracing who you were intended to be.
Right.
That self-awareness can be a big, long, arduous journey for many people, myself included. I'm sure you've experienced it. I mean, sometimes that self-actualization and self-acceptance takes a while, because
Yeah.
we do want to fit in. We want to be accepted.
Right. Right.
But I think you touched on several important pieces there. And you being who you're intended to be displays a lot of self-awareness. And I think that's something that people struggle with, because when you're
Right.
struggling to fit in, you're not paying attention to yourself.
Absolutely. Yep. You're
So,
disregarding who you are, your
and
feelings. Yes.
disregarding it,
Yep.
or hiding or tucking away that portion of
Right.
you. And as Joe mentioned, yeah, we consider ourselves twinsies in a fashion. um and I'll go back into my adolescence. We moved around a lot. um Being the new kid, I had to try to fit in, or at least I thought I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And in high school, um I started to find my own path. I hung out with the popular kids for a while. That just wasn't for me. But I loved to draw and I loved to paint. So I found art, and that was part of who I was. And I realized I'm not that super boisterous or person that has to go out and be with everyone all the time.
Right. Right.
Like so many people, I'm quiet, and somewhat introverted. And there's a misconception about introverts that, oh, they're quiet, they're shy, they never talk. That's not true. When we're around people or a topic that we love, we're gonna just be like,
Right.
"Bleh," and it's all coming out. But when there's big groups or people that we don't know, we're very reserved,
Right.
typically. So understanding who you are and accepting you for who you are is a big piece of that. And when I was growing up, I didn't think I was smart. Again,
Yeah.
like you, started college late, um, and fell in love with it and realized I was smart, and I had to accept that portion of me and reject the thought that I was not smart. And I
Right.
convey
Yeah.
this to people almost on a weekly basis, that you can go to school, you can get a certification, you can get training, you can learn a new skill set, you can do whatever you want. You just have to focus and accept that that's what you want to do, and then go
Right.
for it. And that's part of our individual uniquenesses, if that's a word, or our individual uniqueness, because what we bring to the table, our backgrounds, our experiences, our trials, tribulations, successes,
Right.
all that again makes us who we are and makes us the unique individuals that we are. And that's what we
Absolutely.
bring to the table, every single
Yep.
one of us. We might be part of a team, but we're still unique. We might like a lot of the same things, but we're still unique. Joe
Right.
and I, again, we could practically be twins. Practically. There's just a slight difference between us. Joe's about an inch taller. That's about it. But we're unique in our own ways, and we do not like everything the same. And you
Right.
know, we have these very open, transparent discussions that can get colorful at times. We're
Right.
we're like brothers that just, you know, every now and then we just don't rub nicely with each other. And next thing you know,
Right.
Joe's got me a headlock and he's rubbing my head, and vice, you know, then we're tackling each other. What That's not true because we live 1,000 miles away.
Right. Right.
But the point is that uniqueness makes us who we are, and it brings the different perspectives. And for same and similar that Joe and I are, our perspectives are way, way, way different. And our
Right.
skill sets, as similar as they are, they're way, way different. That's the uniqueness that we bring. Those are the different perspectives that we bring, and that you, as our viewers and listeners, bring to your personal lives, your professional lives, your teams, the environment, the collaboration opportunities that are out there. That's what you bring, and that's what you need to really embrace within yourself.
So Dave, along that line, being on a team and all those types of things, it wasn't really until I truly embraced who I was that
Mhm,
I could embrace others. Because
yeah,
to your point, we all have different perspectives, different backgrounds, growing up, different values, all those types of things. And until you can recognize, your own differences and your own uniqueness, you're not going to recognize anybody else's, because you're
right.
still going to have those biases. You're still going to,
You're
you know
more focused on fitting in instead of accepting who
Absolutely,
you
and
are.
those people fitting in. But
Yeah.
again, the sooner and the more you're able to accept your uniqueness and embrace your uniqueness, you're going to be willing to be open minded and accept other people's differences and their
Mhm,
uniquenesses. And so that's the power in, me now accepting who I am and who I'm intended to be and
mhm.
where I should be and what I should be doing. And that's why I guess I have, you know, people always ask me, um, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? And it just doesn't fit for me.
Yeah,
Everybody else is doing it. It doesn't fit for me. Like I
yeah,
said, I don't drive the car because somebody else did. I drive it because I like it. I
exactly.
wear the clothes that I wear because I like the clothes. I don't care
Mhm.
what you think of me. I am not going to try and live up to someone else's idea
And
of
that
who
can
I
be
should be.
challenging, Joe.
It
That can
it
be very challenging,
absolutely,
especially
absolutely.
with
I don't
the
just
way
say that.
society is today.
Exactly. I
There,
know that.
as much as society and companies and organizations promote diversity, which you and I are both huge proponents of, they can also be very narrowly focused,
Right,
and
right,
either advertently, more likely inadvertently, excluding individuals.
right, right,
And because of their uniqueness, because they do not conform, or they do
right.
not fit in,
Yep,
when in reality they are fitting in, they're just fitting into a different part of the puzzle.
right.
And that's the part that we need to understand and be open to when we're on a team in a
Yep.
personal or professional environment, is realizing that. And again, I'm going to refer back to a mentor of mine that I met in when I was in the defense contracting at a defense contracting company. You know, this person really opened my eyes and said, you know, Dave, our children's journey is not our journey. We have
Right.
to,
Yep.
we can guide them, but they're going to make their own decisions. And the same goes for our employees and our staff members and our leadership. We can influence them as much as we can, but ultimately they're going to make the decisions that they're going to make. And we have to, unfortunately, accept or not
Right.
accept those
Yep.
decisions and outcomes and press forward. And if it doesn't fit in with who we are, our own uniqueness, then we have to look at things, and maybe we have to make some tough decisions, or maybe
Right.
it's going to work out no matter what, or maybe it works out to your benefit. So it just depends. But our uniqueness makes us who we are. And to your point, the
Absolutely.
sooner that we embrace that,
Yep.
the sooner we can capitalize on those cool and great things that we bring to the table that people may not have even realized, that we may
Right.
not have
Right.
even realized. I learned things about myself, I'd say about halfway through my career. And I'm like, well, I can't work at a tech company. I'm not a tech person. But
Right.
it goes beyond that, because there's more than just tech skills at tech companies. There's organizational skills, there's interpersonal skills, there's training skills, there's all these other skills that companies need. So I guess my point here is, if you're at a company or in a position or a relationship that you're not happy with, once you've accepted yourself, then maybe it's time for a change. And it's a positive
Absolutely.
change. It
Yep.
can be
Yep.
work,
Yep.
but if your happiness or your happiness with yourself or your self-acceptance is being impeded by that environment, we
Right.
encourage you to really, really do some critical self-reflection and see if it's
Absolutely.
really worth it.
Yep.
Joe and I have both been in those environments. And it goes back to the adage, it's easier to work for a boss that you like doing a crappy job than having your favorite job and working for a crappy organization.
Right.
And that's where we don't want you to be. We want you to be happy with yourself, with your skill sets, with your own uniqueness, and the environment that you're working in or playing in or socializing in or having your hobbies in, and it does really drive the thought process into that critical self-reflection.
Absolutely. And that's where I was probably 6 years ago, when, just to your point, I made that, did some self-reflection, and I was like, you know what? I no longer fit this organization. I I you know, I'm not going down the same path as they are, and I
Yeah.
don't see my skills being utilized here. So I elected to leave that organization. But it wasn't until I had that critical self-reflection,
Mm.
conversation with myself and where I was trying to go, and I, realized I wasn't going to get there through that organization, and
Yeah.
it opened other doors for me. It got me where I am today, because without making that decision, I probably would have had regrets.
Yeah.
So
And it, and
that's
I'm
the
and I'm
power
go ahead.
of that, you know, embracing your uniqueness and really accepting that I can change this. It
Yeah.
doesn't fit anymore, then I need to move to something that fits me.
Yeah. And I like that because it's like with whether it's personal or professional, if you're in a relationship, a work relationship, a company relationship, whatever, however you want to describe it, it's like your personal relationships. Sometimes we're in a relationship, just like the old adage, and I'm not a big fan of euphemisms, but you know, people enter your lives for a season or a reason.
Right.
And sometimes they're there for many, many years or a lifetime, and sometimes they're there just for a few moments
Right.
or a few passing seconds. And that's okay, because as we grow as individuals, as we learn more about ourselves, as we embrace our uniqueness, sometimes we learn that we have to part ways because we've
Absolutely.
grown
Yep.
apart from those
Yep.
friends or those relationships or those from that company or that team. We've there It's just a natural digression, or not digression, a natural progression of the relationship, but we're progressing differently in different directions or different
Right.
magnitudes, and that's okay. But we have to be honest with ourselves to say this is okay or this is not okay.
Right. Right.
And how does my uniqueness fit or not fit with what I'm doing personally or professionally or both?
Right. Yep. And that was a question, years ago, again, being in my in the military and in that leadership position, that was one of the questions someone asked, you know, did you have to leave people behind, or did you have to
Yeah.
separate yourself from other people? And the answer was yes, because you
Yeah.
do. Like you said, you start to grow in different directions. You have different goals, and your uniqueness again doesn't fit that goal or that direction they're heading. So
Yeah.
you have to move on. And so that's why I say, um, people, you get into a position where you embrace your uniqueness. other people can't dictate what you do. They
Yeah.
can't lay out your path for you. You have the ability to do that. You can see that for yourself. You know, years ago, I was in a training session, leadership training or something along that lines, and the question was asked by the facilitator. He said, "Hey, if I'm building a team, what type of individual should I select? Should I select people that are like me, or should I select people that are different from me?" And it was really eye-opening to hear how many people said they would prefer to have somebody on their team just like them.
And
And
that's interesting because when we
that
start
is
talking
very
about the diversity of thought and
absolutely,
groupthink,
and that's why I say it
that's where we
really
start. That's where the
it,
spiral starts.
it really that's why I say it really helped me, realize that we had so much, further to go,
Mhm.
because yeah, because now you minimize that diversity of thought.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to gain much by hiring somebody or selecting a team member that's just like me, if you put it in terms of a basketball team, do I want 5 guards on the team? Do I
Right.
want 5 centers on the team? So again, if that's the case, then I don't think we would ever win any games, because we don't have that diversity of thought. Everybody's going to be trying to do the exact same thing. So that's
Mhm.
why I found it interesting, when he kind of tallied up the numbers, that most people would choose someone like them, and that's that, not really understanding their uniqueness or
Yeah.
what they bring to the table or what other people bring to the table. So
And and
that's
that
why I think
go ahead. And what I was going to jump in and say is, that's where that transparency piece comes in.
right,
Transparency with yourself, with your staff, with your supervisors, with your peers, subordinates, your family, your friends, your mentors, the people that you're coaching or being coached by. I mean, transparency is a huge piece of this because,
right,
the military strips you down and builds you up to be a certain way.
right, right,
And a lot of that deals with conformity, and there's a reason behind that. There's a specific mission that they need to accomplish.
right,
Organizations are the same way. Company cultures are the same way. Now, they may not be stripping you down mentally, but they do expect a certain amount of conformity.
right. They want alignment.
They
Yes,
want alignment, and
yes,
that's a great term for this
yeah,
situation. That does not mean you have to give up your uniqueness. It just
right,
means you may need to find a different home within that organization. Or sometimes you do adapt to get your foot in the door. And sometimes that can be challenging to step out because their
absolutely,
perception is, oh, you're this person, you're going to work here. And maybe that to you, that was your opportunity to work for that
right,
company,
yep,
and hoping that there's going to be opportunities where you can move into a position that does fit your uniqueness better. So,
right,
um, yeah, I mean, it does come down to transparency with yourself, really, really, really with yourself and with others. Because if you're saying that you want to be a certain place and that's really not where you want to be,
right,
that's a discussion that you need to have with yourself as to
yep,
why are you doing that to yourself.
absolutely,
And
yep,
Joe and I are just as guilty of this through much of our careers, and we joke and jest about, not sure what we want to do when we grow up.
right,
And that's
right,
still
right,
true because to
yep.
us, life is that journey. There's always room for growth, opportunities, new things to explore. It doesn't mean that we're directionless. It just
But
means that our journey's different.
But you know what? The going back to the transparency piece, though, that as long as you let people know that, then
Mhm.
like you say, even if we don't know what we want to do when we grow up, we've at least let people know
Communicated
that.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's important too, because people ask
absolutely.
me that all the time. Hey, so what are you going to do? Your current career. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? And I'm like, I don't know. But I'm open to the possibilities, and and
Yeah,
and that's the reality of it, because I
that's the
don't
reality
know
of it. Yeah.
where I'm going to end up. Again, with our podcast, when we started a year ago, we didn't know we'd be sitting here. I'm on the beach, and Dave is up in the mountains, or about to climb the mountains. So we didn't know we were going to be here at this point. But you're right, that transparency piece, even if I don't have a, exact idea or mapped out where I'm going to end up, people know that about me. They
Yeah.
know that this is not the end for me. I'm still
Yeah.
looking for opportunity. And as you said, it to grow, to develop, to keep pushing forward. And
And if
that's
you don't know what you want to be or don't know what your uniqueness is, that's okay too.
right.
That's what mentors are for.
Yep.
That there's a lot of free assessments out there. Some of them are better than others, but that'll show you what you're interested in and what you're good at. And sometimes that can open up things that we hadn't even considered before,
Absolutely. Yep.
and you don't have to take those assessments literally.
Right.
You have to sometimes be squishy with them, understand that they're fuzzy, and sometimes you have to go
Right.
beyond just the literal and think outside the box, if you will, on what it is to you, to find your uniqueness. And
Right.
it doesn't have to be ground shaking or earth shattering or anything like that. It can just be that self-awareness is the uniqueness that you bring to yourself. And
That's a very good way to say it. And I was just thinking along the lines, how can you say it? But that's it. That self-awareness piece. Again, embracing everything that you are. Again, I've said it before. Your life experiences, your education, your, you know,
your
differences of
likes, your
opinions. Yeah,
dislikes,
exactly. Just
how you were
everything.
brought up, the conscious
Everything.
choices you've
Yes.
made throughout your life and your careers.
All those things should be considered when you're thinking
Yeah.
about your uniqueness. Like I say, me and Dave have both been in multiple components of the military.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my uniquenesses is, I was in Air Force active duty, Air Force Air National Guard, and I was also in the Marine Corps Reserves. Another beyond that for me, for my uniqueness, is the fact that I went through Marine Corps boot camp and Air Force boot camp. So again, all these uniquenesses, and Dave said it, we don't know if that's a word or not, but we made it up. We're
We're
doctors. We can make
doctors.
up
We
a
don't know
word.
everything.
Yeah, let's get that added to the dictionary. But that's it. It's really embracing all those things that make you
Yeah.
unique. That all those experiences, everything that you've encountered in your life, makes up your uniqueness, and
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to convey here,
And it's important
embracing that.
and it's important to understand that your uniqueness that you bring is not necessarily about you fitting in with a group. It's about you fitting in with yourself,
Right.
understanding
Yep.
what your likes, what your passions, what your hobbies are, what you really enjoy doing, and the things that you do not enjoy doing,
Right. Yep.
understanding and accepting that. And it can be a struggle sometimes, because that can mean the difference between doing what you like versus just having a job,
Right. Well,
and that can be tough.
and you said it earlier, in our conversation, the fact that in a lot of cases you get your or embrace your uniqueness. It's other people that don't or
Yeah.
can't see it or don't want to
Or
see
don't
it.
understand it.
Exactly. And so that's the challenge. Dave said it. That's the challenge that you have is, how to relay that to others, because if you get it, um, that's good, but it's even more difficult to try and get other people to see it, or to,
Yeah.
especially if they have no idea about their uniqueness and about what the power they have. And so even with us, with this, our podcast, we're hoping that you're embracing your uniqueness by all these things that we're talking about. The evaluation, opening your mind. That's what this is all about. And Dave said it earlier, the self-awareness piece. That's what this is about. It's helping you to recognize that you have the tools already there, or you're accumulating those tools to fully capitalize on who you are, what you bring to the table, and like Dave said earlier, who you're intended to be. And I think that's really important.
And if you're not sure of what you want to do or what you want to be when you grow up, that's okay too.
Right.
This is an
Yep.
opportunity for you in your spare time or not spare time to
Right.
try different things in the workplace, in your
Right.
personal time. Try different things. Determine what you like and what you don't like if you're
Right.
not sure.
Right.
And some of you have the opportunity right now because of the way things have been going socially for the last couple of years. Those layoffs or reallocations of personnel are not necessarily a bad thing. They can be uncomfortable, but that can also be an opportunity for you to explore new things and new areas and new hobbies and new things about yourself that'll ultimately put you in a better place. So,
Right.
take the time to
Yep.
explore and try things. So in the last few minutes, Joe, any final thoughts, or what are your final thoughts for the last few minutes on embracing your uniqueness?
That's just it. Embrace your uniqueness. We all, as close or similar as we are, we're all different. We're all unique. We all bring different things to the table that are powerful. It is just finding those unique things within us. Finding our voice, finding our intention, finding our purpose. And like Dave said, you don't have to have all those things, but we really just encourage you to continue to explore, to continue to find out what your likes are, find out that you don't, want to do this or do that, and be okay with that, versus just sitting back and assuming, or, thinking that that you won't like it. But try those things out. And like I say, with all the topics we've talked about, the expectation is not that you write all these things down and follow everything to the T, because it's going to come out different for you than it did for me and Dave. But what we would encourage you to do is just to, take some of these things that we've said, try them out. If they don't work, that is fine. If you've watched 53 episodes or 54 episodes and you don't get anything out of it, at least now okay, those were okay, but they don't work for me. That's what this is all about. Again, discovering your own uniqueness and embracing that. So I'll end it with that.
I couldn't have provided a better summary, Joe. So with that, thank you to our viewers and listeners for joining us for another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our other episodes, whether you viewed or listened to them, probably better listening than viewing, because not the best looking dudes. Well, at least whatever. We won't go there. So until next time, again, if you like what you're listening or seeing, like us, share us with your peers, colleagues, friends, family. And until next time, keep on being your not so ordinary you.